Hello and welcome to the ABA studios. Today we're happy to introduce to you a very special guest. He's a former student, graduated last year. Let's jump right into the interview with Gobhanu. So Gobhanu, welcome to ABA. How does it feel to be back?
Thank you very much. Very nostalgic to be back here on campus. Lots of great memories spurring through right as I walk through the doors. It's always great to see my old teachers and friends back on campus as well.
For our viewers, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, about your time at ABA, and what you're doing now?
For sure. So as you know, I graduated in the class of 2023 not too long ago. And right now I'm pursuing my undergraduate university at the University of Pennsylvania, where I study in a dual-degree program called the Huntsman Program in International Studies and Business. When I was at ABA, I was at ABA for 6 years, from 6th grade all the way through 12th grade, did the IB diploma program. I would say I was very involved with the student body and student clubs, lots of opportunities that I kind of made use of. So I spent a lot of time in my early adulthood with ABA and the ABA community.
Can you tell us about how your experiences at ABA have helped you in prepare for university life and life beyond high school?
Yeah, for sure. I think a really big part of what ABA does is not just teach you how to be a good student, but teaches you how to be a good person. What I mean by that is the teachers at ABA really do a great job in terms of creating a community. And with that community, not only do you have to think about how you can work collaboratively in a professional environment, but also out of that. And I think university is so integrated, especially for me, between the academic side as well as what I do socially with my clubs, my extracurriculars, and the projects that I get to work on with professors and whatnot. So from that aspect, it really does come out in terms of what ABA helped me achieve in terms of the ATL skills or simply just the collaborative nature of the work that I've done at ABA that helped me build these skills further into university.
So it's time for some rapid fire questions. Gobhanu, are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Okay. If you could swap lives with any historical figure or celebrity for a day, who would it be and what would you do in their shoes?
Vinod Khosla, who's a massive impact investor across the Silicon Valley network. And I think the reason that I would swap lives with him is because right now I'm very interested in the entrepreneur space and the ecosystem. So I think it would give me inevitable knowledge in terms of the inner workings of the industry. But I think if I was able to move his money and make real investments, then I would push it towards more of an impact investing role as well and have that ripple effect continues for.
Gosh. Yeah, he's going to lose a lot in a day.
What? I'm not getting a job after that, man.
All right. Moving on. The next one. If you could have superpowers, what would you wish for?
If I could have superpowers, I would hope to be Iron Man.
Who doesn't want to be Iron Man?
Self-explanatory.
Right. Okay. And what's the last thing you read that left a lasting impact on you?
The last thing that I read was a book by Adam Grant about unlocking your true potential. I thought it was a very cool book in terms of just reading about it, and it was about behavioral psychology.
Wow. Okay. Pretty cool. All right. So now, if you could master any skill instantly, what would it be?
Computer science. I think the reason that I say this is I've always neglected it. I've thought that there's a lot of people who are doing it and it's not something that I was personally interested in. But I think going against my own kind of words, I never actually gave it a fair shot. And I think I will in the future. But if I could just grasp it instantly, that would be incredible.
Yeah, we're living in the world of AI now, so why not? All right. Now, okay, here's the last one. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I would say is from my dad. And this advice is so simple, but I think it's so meaningful. It has been that as long as you give it your best, you should not care about the results. And I think that goes to show that if you can try, and just because you're able to try, you will gain value with it regardless of whether you succeed or fail. In fact, I think that there's really no opportunity to fail because I look at everything as a way to succeed, just at different things, whether you succeed at achieving your goal or succeed at gaining knowledge.
I would say that's a very, very nice piece of advice. Thanks.
Very, very rapid fire.
Gobhanu, I'm aware of the fact that while you were at ABA, you were a president of the Student Council, and you've taken on multiple leadership roles, and you've also founded SWIFT at that time. Can you tell us a little more about SWIFT? What inspired you to start this initiative and to give back to society through this?
I think SWIFT is interesting. SWIFT, Sustaining Women in Financial Turmoil, started off when I was back in grade 8, so very early on. And it really started off as a small high school club from a teacher who was already working on microfinance at ABA, but who was working on something completely different. He was simply teaching us about this concept through an extracurricular club, But at the same time, I was learning about it in the classroom through my MYP classroom geography, where we were learning about social enterprises, nonprofits. And it was kind of a culmination of both of these findings where I was like, there's a real opportunity here for me to make an impact in Oman. And kind of witnessing that gap firsthand made me focus on looking at something that I can create, at least to have some type of an impact. After that, I ended up Googling, and then I found out that the world's biggest bank, microfinance bank, was Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. And then I decided to actually write a cold email, apply for their internship program as a high school student, and then I found myself in Bangladesh for 3 months, where I worked under Professor Muhammad Yunus, who was a Nobel laureate for microfinance. So really got that first-hand exposure into what microfinance can do to communities, especially within Dhaka and the villages around it. After that, came back to ABA, and with the guidance of my teacher at the time, I started Swift. Swift really was just a small fundraising club when it's during its first inception. It was a bunch of me and my friends who held a bunch of bake sales, pizza sales, where we raised a little bit of money and we lent it off a platform called Kiva. Kiva is a crowdsourced platform that I think has inspired a lot of students to pursue microfinance. It really does teach a student what microfinance is and also the ability to inculcate it within their daily lives. After that, through the ABA network, we got a bunch of mentors who were really interested in our work, especially because we created a little bit of noise with the fundraising that we were doing. And then those mentors helped us establish ourselves as a full-fledged nonprofit microfinance institute. And then that allowed us to fundraise, which then allowed us to launch in multiple countries, including India and Oman, and recently in the United States as well, as I've pursued university there. I think what's been really interesting through my journey starting Swift was the leverage that I was able to build from the ABA community, right? Whether that was initially reaching out to investors or sponsors by making touch points through my friends and classmates across the ABA campus, or simply just having that name to prove that we're doing something that's legitimate and we're passionate about the cause that we're supporting.
Your story did make waves in the news last year when you won the Diana Award for your work with Swift. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and what the process was like, what the experience was like for you?
For sure. The Diana Award was something that was actually completely unexpected, to be honest. I later found out that the reason that I was nominated for the Diana Award was because one of the individuals that we lent to for starting their own business actually ended up nominating us for this award. They're a small business owner in the United States who thought that this would be something that would help us further our mission by getting additional recognition. And it really did just that. When we got the Diana Award, not only was I ecstatic because it was our first kind of piece of recognition that allowed us to build credibility and reach out to more press, which created further publicity, and then we were allowed to reach out to more donors who it created a real ripple impact in terms of the impact that we were able to generate. But with the Diana Award specifically, it was a great moment for us to get that credibility. I think it was an incredible motivator, not only for myself, but for all of the students that were working on Swift to see that we were heard, our voices were noticed, and it simply just gave us that propelled enthusiasm to keep working on Swift.
Well, that's really fascinating. And Gobhanu, can you share some of the experiences that have stayed with you from women that you've supported through Swift?
I think one thing that was really evident since the first time that we started Swift and lent out through Kiva itself was that there's a lot of people in this world who were simply underprivileged because of the scenario that they were in. And this is inequality and something that we were passionate about tackling. Once we started to actually make an impact and tackle these, the types of entrepreneurs that we were lending to were extremely motivated to make a change for themselves. It was almost as if they were fighting not only for themselves, but for their communities to a certain extent. And that's something that we realized later on. Almost every single borrower that we end up lending to is Swift has a ripple impact that multiplies within their community. So, for example, if we were to lend to a small tailoring shop, this tailoring shop at the initial stages would help them uplift themselves as a tailor, but also their surrounding family out of poverty. But then later on, they would hire tailors from their local community, which would then help sustain their community as well as themselves as a business. And I think that was such a pronounced impact that we were able to see because individuals who were starting these businesses were passionate about alleviating themselves from poverty, but also their communities.
Gobhanu, it's really interesting to see how you've done so much to give back to the society. And you've done all of this while balancing your schoolwork, university, and extracurriculars. So, do you have a message for your peers or the younger generation as to how they can do it all?
I think that's a very big question. And I think, I don't know if I've done it all. I think there was definitely kind of sacrifices that I had to make while trying to juggle all of this. But I think the best advice that I could give anybody is don't put it off just because you think you can't do it. I think we're very fortunate to have an ecosystem where failure doesn't necessarily mean that you failed. And what I mean by that is every time that you might not succeed at an opportunity simply means that you've been able to garner knowledge that will help you in your next venture, next project, next classroom work, right? And that would probably be my biggest kind of takeaway or biggest lesson that I could share, in the sense, just put yourself out there, seek discomfort, and try your best at whatever it is that you're doing.
So, Gobhanu, tell us about how the IB diploma program at ABA helped you get into university.
I think the IB diploma program has done multiple things, right? I think the first thing was the rigor, in terms of it being a program that really did kind of challenge me. It allowed me to create a curriculum, I would say, that was best fit towards my interest, which allowed me to explore whether certain subjects were the right thing for me to pursue or not. And I think that flexibility allowed me to nurture my interest further and then kind of build up my resume to get into university. Beyond that, I also think that the IB does a great job at making me a well-rounded person, especially with the cast piece, where I have to do something that's creative, something that's action-based, and something that's service-based. I was a 3-season MESEC athlete at ABA, and I think that really did help me build a lot of skills that I simply wouldn't have kind of pursued if I didn't do the IB program.
Right. And what would you say students would have to focus on in their final year if to get good university acceptances?
What I would recommend to students who are pursuing IB is to do whatever it is that they're interested in to the highest level that they can possibly do it. So if you're able to pursue it at the higher level program with IB, then do it with that. Or if you're even more interested, do your extended essay on it, or reach out to your teacher and try to kind of build something that's more meaningful. And I think as long as you're showing that demonstrated interest, the university acceptances will come by.
That's wonderful. So, how is freshman year at UPenn treating you?
Freshman year at UPenn's been rather pleasant. I've really been able to kind of settle into the ecosystem, explore deeper connections with my professors, and kind of pursue my interests further as well.
That's great. Huge congratulations to you. And I hope you do keep inspiring and empowering people all around you. Thank you so much for joining us today and doing this impromptu interview. And wish you all the best ahead.
Thank you very much.